To recognize me is to know reality itself. Taken from recognition of me is liberation, the radical conversion to intrinsic egolessness in the divine reality way of Adidam. Truly, there are no methods or techniques in the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam, which is the one and only by me revealed and by me given radical reality way of the heart. The radical reality way of Adidam is all devotional recognition response to me, conforming to me and coinciding with me. I am the one to be realized. My very state is what there is to realize. It is not a state that can be caused. It is. I am here. My devotees are called to devotionally recognize me, to conform to me and coincide with me, moment to moment. I am the process. You are not the process. You are the stave in the wheels. You are the obstruction to the process. You are the seeker, the body-mind self, the ego I, the independent, separate and separative point of view. That is what you must be moved beyond through your devotional recognition response to me. Recognition response to me is the radical reality way of Adidam. That recognition response unfolds in various modes that I have elaborated. You must understand the uniqueness of simple devotional recognition response to me. That is the key to the radical reality way of Adidam. That is the radical reality way of Adidam. That is its process. If you have not recognized me, then you think I am a mere teacher, an objectified human entity giving instructions for you to apply to yourself. That is not recognition of me. Recognition of me means you are not fixed in an egoically self-objectifying position, and you do not see me as the other to that self-objectified ego entity. Rather, you recognize me instead. Your recognition of me coincides with the response to me that is intrinsically egoless, intrinsically ego-transcending, intrinsically ego-surrendering. That is the process. To recognize me is to know reality itself, is to know real a causal God. If there is no devotional recognition of me, then there is self-contraction dwelling in itself with all of its patterns. You can hear me give you words of instruction about everything from right life practice to all the esotericism of the way I have revealed and given, and it will be nothing but something the ego is trying to incorporate into itself by imitating me and competing with me. That is not devotion. You cannot cause realization, nor can realization be caused. It is impossible. Reality itself cannot be caused. Reality itself is not a cause. Reality itself is perfectly a causal. That sounds paradoxical, and so I have thoroughly revealed and explained what is needed to bring people to understand that paradox. I cannot cause realization. I am realization. That sounds like there is nothing to do then. Yes, in some sense there is nothing to do, but not in the sense that you just remain as you are and continue seeking or try not to seek. It means there must be devotional recognition response to me, and that is how real a causal God or reality itself is realized tacitly as a gift, moment to moment. It is recognition response to me. I am the state to be realized. I cannot cause the realization. I am it. Your devotional recognition of me as I am is how the process of the radical reality of Adidam is initiated. And persisting in that devotional recognition of me, moment to moment, to the point where you are utterly conformed to me and whole-bodily coincident with me, is how the process of realization happens. Most ultimately, that process perfects itself in divine translation. The basis of the radical reality way of Adidam is devotional recognition response to me, whole bodily response to me, based on tacit recognition of my state, the intrinsically egoless, self-existing, self-radiant, and self-evidently divine self-nature, self-condition, and self-state, directly revealed. I am not the ego's other. Therefore, the social, organizational, and merely ceremonial and programmed approach to me is not the way I have revealed and given. Such is not right relationship to me. Right relationship to me is devotional recognition, response to me, radical devotion to me, conformed to me through right life practice and obedience to my instructions altogether, and coincident with me through tacit reception of my perfect knowledge revelation. The self-objectified ego approaching the objectified other to acquire something is not the radical reality way of Adidam. That is not the way of realization of real causal God. That has nothing to do with the real God realizing way. That is exactly how realization itself is prevented. The radical understanding that is the root of the way I have revealed and given is not something you develop in your mind as a result of working on yourself for any period of time. It is a tacit understanding. It is radical. It is at the root. That tacit understanding is tacitly awakened when you devotionally recognize me and devotionally respond to me, turning to me whole-bodily without withholding, based on tacit recognition of my self-existing and self-radiant and perfectly egoless state. If you devotionally recognize me, you turn whole-bodily to me. If you devotionally recognize me, you relate to me through gifts alone, not through the devices of an ego. It is only the relationship of whole bodily recognition, responsive surrender, that is right relationship to me. Gifts are the manifestation of whole bodily recognition, responsive surrender to me, obedience to me, and service to me. In other words, all action becomes devotional communion with me. That is what makes action into devotional service to me. As long as I am the ego's other, I am not devotionally recognized, and the radical reality of Adidam has not yet begun. People who are struggling with themselves or working on themselves are not practicing the radical reality way of Adidam yet. The entire process of the radical reality way of Adidam is an unfolding of what is tacitly the case from the beginning. Whole bodily recognition response to me. For there to be true Adidam, there must be a culture of devotional, radical recognition of me, the devotion to me that is always at the root, not by working on self, not by turning attention within, through dissociative introversion, but simply through whole bodily recognition response to me. If there is a culture that objectifies me and reinforces the ego position in people, addresses them as egos and consumers, then you never have Adidam, never. Therefore, the gathering of my devotees must manifest the culture of true radical devotion to me. The culture of devotion to me is an invocation culture, a recognition responsive culture, a global culture of Adidam, in which my devotees who devotionally recognize me extend the gift of my person and my self-revelation everywhere and with full effectiveness because they are full of me. The ego merely works on itself, making much of itself, objectifying me and presuming to make seeking efforts with the body-mind complex, which, at most, can unfold the patterns intrinsic to the body-mind complex, or the patterns of the first 6 stages of life. That is not the radical reality of Adidam. The only by me revealed and given radical reality way of Adidam is the 7th stage way, the way of recognition responsive devotion to me. In the radical reality way of Adidam, it is the 7th stage process that unfolds. The 7th stage way is not only the 7th stage of life itself, but the 7th stage way as a whole, or the 7th way. It has nothing to do with the first 6 stages of life. It has nothing to do with the great path of return. It has nothing to do with seeking. It has nothing to do with egoity. It is entirely about intrinsically ego-transcending recognition response to me. Radical or always at the root devotion to me. How does devotion to me get to be always at the root? By means of recognition of me. Devotion to me is tacitly at the root if you recognize me. The entire radical reality way of Adidam is the way of devotion to me, but not as a point of view bound, ego turning to an objective other. That is the secret. The radical reality way of Adidam is not about the ego turning to its other. The radical reality way of Adidam begins in freedom from that. Freedom is not merely realized at the end of the radical reality way of Adidam. The radical reality way of Adidam begins in that freedom. Da.